I'm Korey Pieper, and I am going to talk today a little bit about how to increase your running volume or how to return to running so that you don't get hurt. So, it's a question we get asked a lot from people who are either trying to train for an event or a race or are going back to running after they've had an injury, something that we may have been treating them for. One of the biggest concerns is the volume of how much running. So it's easier to talk about if you have been injured and you start at zero. Very easy to look at those numbers. Otherwise, you sort of need to know on a week basis how much your current volume is. And you may have your overall goal, whether, again, you've signed up for a race or an event or something, but you need to get there safely by increasing your distance progressively over kind of a week's volume. So what they recommend is that over a week, you don't increase that volume by more than 10 to 15%. And again, when we're talking mileage, it's easier to look at those mileage. You do 3 miles this day, 4 miles this day, and 3 miles again. That's a total of 13 miles, right? So you can say then by increasing 10% the next week, you can add on 1.3 miles and know that you'll probably safely stay under that threshold for injury. And where we talk about this threshold is, let's say this is your threshold, and if you spend too much time above that threshold, you'll injure something, whether it's an ankle, a knee, whatever, right? So here's your threshold. If you stay too low, if you stay at 1 mile, you're going to stay way down here, and you'll also never push that threshold up. So the goal of kind of progressively increasing is you come up, you might get near that threshold, but you never spend too much time above the threshold. And again, if you don't work on progressing and adding on volume, you'll always stay kind of at the same. So if you have a goal, you do need to push it a little bit, but you don't want to spend much time training above your threshold. When you were talking about weight for something like strength training, that threshold becomes either the intensity of an exercise or the volume, whatever you're carrying as a weight, right? So your resistance. And it's the same thing. If this is your threshold for injury, if you can lift a 10-pound weight for a bicep curl, you don't want to just jump up to a 20-pound bicep curl because you're probably going to hurt something in here and here in your neck. Something's going to get injured. So you want to keep that threshold at a nice place where you're pushing it, but you're not going over it. And when we talk again about exercise volume, that magic number is somewhere around 10 to 15%. And again, if you do 10 miles one week, then the next week you can do 11 or 11.5, and you would never change again too many of those dynamics. Whether it's distance or speed or whatever, right? So you kind of just think of the volume, the intensity as all of those pieces. When we also talk about training as far as running, you may also do things like yoga or strength training, and that is also part of your overall volume of exercise. So you just have to be aware that it's not always just your mileage, that maybe you throw in a really heavy weight day. Well, it would not be appropriate to go for a really, really long run after that because that volume, that getting closer and closer to that threshold for injury is getting closer. So if you guys have any questions about this, I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear if you guys have a specific goal that you're working towards or any history of how you've trained in the past. So if you do, give me a comment down below, and I'd love to hear from you. Hopefully this helps just kind of explain how to add on a little bit of volume and get to your goals.